number 2. Just one verse, verse number 1. Joshua chapter number 2, verse number 1. And I'm going to read from the King James Version this morning. And here is what it says, or here is how it reads in the King James Version. It says, "And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, 'Go view the land, even Jericho.' And they went and came into an harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there." I want to preach with your prayers, with the aid of the Holy Spirit, with the last 30 minutes or so I got left. I want to preach from the subject, a trip to Rahab's house. Amen. Look at your neighbor with a great big Jesus smile on your face. Come on, put a Jesus smile on your face. Look at him and say, "Neighbor, we getting ready to take a trip to Rahab's house." Amen. Y'all pray with me. Pray with me. We're going to Rahab's house. Y'all gonna pray with me, aren't you? For 40 long, challenging, difficult years, Moses, under God's direction, led the Israelites as they wandered through the wilderness. As you all know, God had delivered them from Egypt, from being under Pharaoh's rule. He miraculously allowed them to cross the Red Sea on dry land. And God supernaturally defeated their enemies. Now, around 1400 BC, Israel was about to finally enter into the promised land. The land flowing with milk and honey, the land that God had ordained for them to have. And at that moment in time, God had transferred the mantle of Israel's leadership to Joshua. Joshua was an able, faithful, and courageous leader. Before Israel entered Canaan, Joshua sent a party of 2 men to spy out the land just west of the Jordan River, instructing them to pay special attention to the formidable city known as Jericho. As I shared with those who were in attendance on last night, I believe that when Joshua sent these 2 spies out, that this was a deja vu moment for him. Those of you who are Bible readers, if you remember, back over in the book of Numbers, under Moses' leadership, Moses sent out 12 spies. He sent out 12 spies to spy out the land. And he sent them on what a military person would call a reconnaissance mission. They were sent out to gather information and then bring it back to the home base. He sent out these 12 spies, and when they got to the promised land, they saw that it was, in fact, fertile ground, flowing with milk and honey. Moses told them to bring back some of the fruit. And the Bible lets us know that the fruit was so heavy that 2 men had to place the grapes around a stake and carry it on their shoulders. Spies came back, but they did not come back with the report that Moses was anticipating. They said, yes, ground is rich, it's fertile, it's promising, but there are giants in the land. and we appear as grasshoppers in our sight and in theirs. But it was two men by the name of Caleb and Joshua who said, yes, there are giants in the land. But they said, let us go up and take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it. When Joshua sent his two spies out, it did not take them very long to reach Jericho. And once there, they discovered that Jericho was a bustling, fortified city strategically situated in the fertile plains of the Jordan Valley. Once these spies reached Jericho, they instantly realized that these impressive man-made barriers around the city would never be breached. They would never be destroyed unless God miraculously intervened on their behalf. For the city of Jericho was fortified by an impenetrable wall. Have you ever had times in your life where you know you are headed in the direction that God wants you to go in? You know that he's ordering your steps, and then when you arrive at the place where God himself wants you to be, you discover that the blessing is surrounded by a wall. Do I have any believers here today that you know, that's why last Sunday I preached that it ain't what it looked like. Because if you just stand there and look at the walls will tell you, I can never be defeated. The walls will suggest to you that there is no way you could ever bring me down. The walls will suggest to you, do you know how much effort and how much time was placed into me being erected? What make you think with your little weak self that you're gonna show up in my face and make me come down? Walls got a way of talking to you. Walls have a way of telling you, I don't care how much faith you got, I ain't coming down. Oh, but if God led you to the wall, God has a way of bringing you through the wall. Do I have a witness here? But what you must understand is that our God is unconventional. You see, the way that you think he should bring the wall down may not necessarily be the way that he will bring it down. Well, the two spies, they came to the wall of Jericho and they said, there's no way that it can be breached. But little did they know that God had already started working on the heart of a woman that was going to give them access to the city. Let's go to Rahab's house. Now, before I go any further, I must tell you, I got to issue a disclaimer. Rahab, she a little different. Are y'all still with me? I know you lost your hour of sleep, but stay with me. We're going somewhere. Rehab, she's a little different. Rahab is not on the church motherboard. She's not the secretary of the women's ministry. Rahab does not teach Sunday school. She's not an usher. She's not a soprano, nor is she an alto. She don't sing in the choir. Rahab, she's a little different. Rahab is a little rough around the edges. Yeah. I'm just trying to be nice about it. Well, verse 1 tells us that Rahab is a harlot. Yeah, Rahab is a woman of the night. I'm just trying to Be nice about it. Rahab is a streetwalker. Y'all still with me, aren't you? What's a harlot? What's a streetwalker? What's a woman? Rahab is a prostitute, y'all. Rahab has sex for money. Rahab is a harlot. But she gives the spies access to the city. And if I were to pause right there just to make one initial point, that would be, you never know who God is going to use to give you access to what you need. I'll repeat that one more time. You never know who God is going to use to give you access to what you need. And a lot of times, based upon how someone has lived or is living, we deem them to be unusable, unfit, and unnecessary because of their lifestyle, because of what they are currently involved in. Those of us who are already in the church, we have a way of looking down at them, and we quickly forget that we too are sinners that were only saved by grace. You never know who God is going to use to give you access to what you need. So be careful how you treat people. Very person who you are mistreating today, you might need them tomorrow. Never know who God is going to use. You never know how God is going to get you what you need. If Elijah was here, Elijah would testify and tell you that in the midst of the famine, I did not receive my meals from McDonald's. To tell you that I was not able to place an order at Longhorn. There was a famine in the land. But God used a raven to bring me my bread. Now, see, you got to understand the nature and the mentality of a raven. A raven is a buzzard. A raven is wired to only think about himself. But God has a way of taking the things that you think can't bless you. He'll turn it around and make it bring you meals on wheels. God has a way. That's why the Bible says, pray for them that despitefully use you. Those who bring false accusations against you, don't hate on them, pray for them. Because see, if you pray for them, God will use your enemies as your stepping stool. You got to pray for those who look like they're out to get you. God got a way of flipping the script. Yeah, in my life, I've lived long enough to have folk to publicly declare that they don't like me. But you know, that ain't my problem, that's their problem. Don't hate the player, hate the game. That ain't my problem. But one thing I've discovered, I don't develop that same kind of attitude towards them. I've learned how to pray for them. And the same folk that did not like me, the same folk that dug ditches for me, had to come back and turn in their shovel. They had to come back to me and you say, you know what? I'm sorry for what I did. As a matter of fact, let me give you a little piece of money. God got a way of making the same folk that's trying to dig ditches for you turn around and bless you.
So pray for them. Yeah, my time is running out. I gotta keep moving. You never know how God is gonna bless you. You never know who He's gonna use to give you access. And you know, I believe sometimes that God uses people like Rahab is because church folk ask too many questions when it's time to take action. Now, there is a time for Q&A. There's a session for that. But you see, there's also a time when you just need to take action. Yeah, if you got somebody that's living next door to you and you see they're in need, you ain't got to come to the church and we got to have no meeting. If you see they're in need, go ahead and help them. Hey, a lot of times we just get caught up. We want to know who getting it, why they getting it, what they going to do with it. You know, we can, and sometimes we can miss our blessing because we're asking too many questions. But I discovered something here, and when you get home, you read it in verses 9 and 10, when Rahab, when she's in conversation with the spies, she says to them, especially right here in verse number 10, she says, I heard about what God was doing on your behalf. She said, I've been hearing about the victories that God has been granting to you all. See, if God is working in our midst, then sinners should already hear about it. The reputation of the saints or of the church should precede itself. Are you here with me? See, too often we go and try to witness to folk, and we have no fruit to show. And it's almost as if we are just talking to the wall because there's no presence, there's no fruit about us that can give an indication that God is already working with us. And how can you invite them in when you yourself don't have no fruit to show? But she says to the spies, I have heard about what God has been doing in your midst. I'm making my way on. But the question we have to ask ourselves, Timothy and whoever else is represented here today, we must ask ourselves, does the reputation of our church precede us? What do sinners say about us? I'll stay right there. I'm going to preach in a minute. What do sinners say about your church? Can they say like Rahab, I heard about what God is doing in your midst? But see, too often when we try to witness to folk, they'll say, yeah, I heard about your church. Yeah, I heard about y'all. Y'all real judgmental. Y'all don't want folk like me. Come on, talk to me now. Yeah, Rahab, she'll tell you, yeah, I've heard about y'all church. Y'all real hateful over there. I heard about your church. All y'all do is fight. That's a bad reputation for any church to have. And believe it or not, Rahab know more about what go on in the church than some of the folk that come every Sunday. Stay with me. I'm going to preach, I promise you. Yeah, Rahab, she know what's going on in the church. Now, she don't go to church, but she know the people that do. Y'all still in the house with me? Yeah, Rahab know. She know what's going on. Yeah, Rahab can tell you some things. As I shared with the group there last night, I said, I remember years ago, Bishop Moore, he was sharing with us how he devised this evangelistic strategy. He gave everybody a street to go out and witness on. And he said after the meeting, he had one lady that came up to him, and she said, Brother Pastor, she said, yeah, what's going on, sister? She said, if you would, sir, please give me another street. He said, why? She said, because the people on that street that you gave me, they know me. And if I go witness on that street, they ain't gonna hear me. See, Rahab, she know what's going on. Rahab can tell you some things about what's happening in your church. And see, one thing, we may not like how Rahab lives, but you got to respect her honesty. Because one thing Rahab will tell you, Rahab say, now, I don't go to church. And I know the way I live ain't right, but at least I ain't no hypocrite. Oh, Rahab will tell you real quick. She say, I don't fake the funk. I ain't no phony. I ain't the kind of person that's just going to be skinning and grinning. Nah, I know what I'm doing ain't right. But at least I ain't no hypocrite. See, I believe Rahab, she allowed the spies to come into her house because they were not there to solicit her services. Y'all still with me? See, Rahab can tell you the folk that come by her house on Saturday and didn't show up for church on Sunday. Rahab knows some stuff. Tell somebody, Rahab knows. She knows. Rahab has already seen the church game. Rahab has already had folk come to her house and tell her things about the church. Rahab have seen it come from every angle, but Rahab has never seen anybody come with a genuine heart in the spirit of love and say, let me share with you what the Lord is doing for me. Rahab has never had anyone come to her house, knock on her door and say, Rahab, I ain't here to fake the funk. As a matter of fact, let me be honest with you. I once was where you are, but the Lord brought me out, and if he brought me out, he can bring you out too. See, people of God, that's why we just got to be honest. We got to let folk know that we're not perfect. We don't have it all together. We are just a work in progress. But if the Lord is good enough to work it out with you, then he is good enough to work it out for Rahab. So, don't mess with Rahab and get her upset, because Rahab will give you the 411. Yeah. If you push Rahab hard enough, she'll tell you who her baby daddy is. Come on, talk to me, somebody. Yeah, you know that boy with the funny looking head and got the big eyes, yeah, him. Rahab can tell you some things that you may not be prepared to hear. Because Rahab gonna give it to you like it is. What are you saying, Pastor? What's the essence of this message? Well, what I'm saying in a nutshell is that if we're going to advance the kingdom, if we're going to go where we've never been, if we're going to do what we've never done, then we must stop recycling church folk. The method for growing your church is not to go and steal members from someplace else. The method for advancing the kingdom is witnessing to folk that don't have no place to go on Sunday morning. We have grown accustomed to picking low-hanging fruit. People that can easily be grabbed. Folk that already know a little bit of word. Folk that's already got a little bit of church in them. But see, when you start witnessing to folk that's been in the street and folk that's know the game, see, now you got to come correct. You got to reach up a little bit higher. And it's time now for the church to stop trading folk. You switch them out for 6 weeks over here, then they come over here for 6 months. We got to go after the sinners. And I want to tell you, in case you don't know, God has a plan for the life of sinners. How do you know that, Pastor? Because y'all up in here. And all of us ain't nothing but sinners saved by grace. And if we let you up in here, God knows we can let Rahab. See, the only difference between Rahab and some church folk is Rahab ain't developed the art of keeping her stuff hid. As a matter of fact, Rahab don't even care if you know. But a lot of us, we know how to keep it hid. We know how to keep it under the rug. Oh, but if shoes could talk and tell some of the places you've been, if walls could talk and tell some of the places you've gone, some of us will be dead or in jail. So you ought to thank God that Jesus let you up in his house. Tell somebody, I know that's right. God had a plan for Rahab's life. If you read on over to chapter 6 and verse number 25, you'll see that after the children of God came into the promised land, the walls came down. Well, actually back over in chapter 2, they tell Rahab, they say, you know, because you allowed us to come into the city, and then when the soldiers came to look for the men, she took them up on the roof, hid them. And when the soldiers left, she let them down on a rope, tell them where to go and hide. And the spies went into covenant with Rahab. Actually, she more so went into covenant with them. She said, I tell you what, when you come back to conquer the city, spare me and my family. He said, I tell you what, then let down the red scarlet out of your window, and we'll know that this is your house, and we'll conquer all of the other houses with the exception of yours. So over in chapter number 6, verse 25, we then see Joshua extending the right hand of fellowship to Rahab. She now becomes a member of the church. She now becomes a member of the body of believers. Now in chapter 2, she's a harlot. But in chapter 6, she's a bona fide member of Timothy. God has a plan for the lives of sinners. See, I told you, you can't look down on folk because you never know who God is going to use. I got 2 minutes left. I'm going to preach in 2 minutes. When Rahab became a member of the body of believers, watch how God works. She then married a man named Salmon. Salmon was the son of Judah's tribal leader. From this marriage between Salmon and Rahab, a son came by the name of Boaz. Watch me now. Boaz became a faithful man of God. Boaz went on to marry a woman named Ruth. Y'all do know Ruth, she got a book named after her. Boaz married Ruth, and they had a son named Obed. Obed became the father of Jesse. Jesse became the father of David. And I hear Jesus in the book of Revelation saying, I am the root and the offspring of the house of Jesse. I came through the lineage of David. I know you never considered it, but guess what? Jesus came through the lineage of a brothel. Jesus came through the lineage of the house of Rahab. See, you got to be careful how you treat folk, because you don't know what plan God has for their life. Hey, I got 60 seconds left, but I came to tell you today that God can change anybody. Do I have a witness in the house today? Anybody in here been changed? Anybody in here? The Lord brought you out of darkness into the marvelous light. Anybody in here can testify and say, I know I've been changed. Places I used to go, I don't want to go no more. Things I used to do, I don't want to do no more. Can anybody say, I know I've been changed? I'm different. Looked at my hands, and my hands look new. Looked at my feet were new too. The Lord has brought a change in my life. Tell somebody, I know I've been changed. I thank God I may not be all that I want to be, but I thank him that I'm not what I used to be. A change, a change, a change. He's brought a wonderful change over me. So now when you read over in the book of Hebrews chapter number 11, it talks about the faith of Abraham. It talks about the faith of Moses. It talks about the faith of Joshua. The faith of Sarah. And if you read a little bit further, it says, and also Rahab, the harlot. God can take your Old Testament problem and make it your New Testament testimony. Do I have a witness in here? God can change anybody. But the church must not be afraid to go to Rahab's house. Those are the uncharted waters. That's where we advance the kingdom. That's how we do what we've never done and go where we've never been. We got to go to Rahab's house. I know Rahab's house ain't the best one on the block. Yeah, the steps are falling in. Grass don't get cut on a regular basis. Rahab got 6 children. 4 of them got different daddies. Talk to me, somebody. Rahab is the man who's not clean cut. He don't have a clean shave. Rahab is that man who's been strung out on drugs. He ain't working right now. He don't look like much. But you never know. You never know what plan God has for Rahab. When you go to Rahab's house,